Good afternoon. My name is Garnet Schulhauser, and I am a Level 2 QHHT practitioner and the author of 4 books in the spiritual genre: Dancing on a Stamp, Dancing Forever with Spirit, Dance of Heavenly Bliss, and Dance of Eternal Rapture. All of these books recount my dialogue and subsequent astral adventures with my spirit guide Albert. In some of my recent QHHT sessions, the higher self has revealed some very interesting and amazing facts about parallel universes. I've always been fascinated about the concept of parallel universes, and I got to find out firsthand myself on one of my astral trips with Albert when he took me to visit Earth in a parallel universe. Albert tells me that universes have been dividing randomly since the beginning of time, and that Earth does in fact exist in a number of different universes. Every time a universe divides, the two halves initially are identical, but then over the course of time, due to the random interaction of energy and mass and the free will actions of their life forms, they begin to diverge and sometimes turn out to be very different. Thus, you may have a number of clones existing in a number of other parallel universes, even though you're not aware of the existence of any of them. In the parallel universe that I got to visit with Albert, it was Earth in the same time period as my planet Earth. He dropped me down in Lower Manhattan of New York City. The first thing I noticed was that the World Trade Towers were still standing. When I asked Albert how this could be, he said that it was due to the fact that Islamic terrorists did not exist in this Earth. What had happened was that way back when, the Prophet Muhammad died at an early age in a tragic accident, and Islam was never formed as a religion. Therefore, all of the Middle East, which is currently dominated by Islam, is now mostly Christian in that Earth. As a result, the Crusades never happened because the Holy Land was never occupied by infidels. By the same token, the Arab-Israeli conflicts over the last number of years did not happen because the country known as Palestine was occupied by Jews and Christian Arabs who got along peacefully without any conflict. That Earth did not have ISIS, did not have a Syrian civil war, and of course did not have any Islamic terrorists. And one of the notable features of that planet, besides the fact that the World Trade Towers were still standing, is that airport security checks were much less stringent than they were and are on our planet. The next thing that happened on my astral adventure to that Earth was that Albert took me up Manhattan Island to the middle of Harlem. There he dropped me down on the street, and he asked me if I noticed anything different. I looked around, and the streets seemed to be busy with people going to and fro about their business. And then I realized that there were very few black people on the streets. And I asked Albert, how could this be? Because this was the middle of Harlem. And he said it was because there was a quirk in the history of this planet that dictated that there was never any slave trade to America. What had happened was that Europe had banished slavery prior to the colonization of America, and so there was never any slaves taken in Africa and moved over to America to work in the plantations. As a result, the population of blacks in America in that Earth was less than 1% compared to the approximate 13% that exists now. As a result, there was no civil war, there was no emancipation of slaves because slaves did not exist, there was no civil rights movement, and Martin Luther King was never born on that planet. Very interesting how things can develop out of a couple seemingly innocuous quirks in the history of a planet. Some of my recent QHHT sessions, the higher self has in fact confirmed what Albert has revealed to me about parallel universes and has exactly expanded upon some of the information I had received from Albert. For example, the higher self said that in one parallel universe, Earth existed alongside our current Earth, except that the population was very much different from ours. What had happened was that the asteroid that hit our planet 65 million years ago and wiped out most of the dinosaurs missed that Earth by a whisker. As a result, dinosaurs were still the dominant species on that Earth, which would be quite amazing because if you were able to visit that planet, you would feel like you had been dropped into the movie set for Jurassic Park. In another parallel universe, Earth was also much different from our current planet. What had happened there was that the Mayan civilization that grew up to great heights in the Yucatan Peninsula on our Earth and then disappeared mysteriously, they did not disappear in that Earth. They actually flourished. They ended up colonizing all of Central, North, and South America. And they were much more advanced than the Europeans at the time. And so it was the Mayans who traveled across the ocean to Europe in their ships many years before Europeans were capable of making that voyage. And what happened was that the Mayans then colonized and conquered all of Europe, which was really the exact opposite of what happened on our Earth. And you can well imagine how that planet would look so much different from our current planet. But I've often wondered if I have many other me's existing in other parallel universes. When I look back on my life, I think about many of the major decision points I reached as I was moving through life. And I've often wondered what would have happened if I had chosen a different path when I came to the fork in the road. It would be utterly fascinating for me to be able to find me in another universe where that me would have chosen a different route every time he came to a fork in the road. It'd be very interesting to see if the decisions I made at every fork in the road in my life would have been better or worse than if I had taken another action or made another decision. Unfortunately, humans are not able to travel between parallel universes so far, although one day we may be able to do that. In the meantime, we have to hurry up and wait and hope that someday we'll be able to take glimpses into other parallel universes where we can find out how our clones, our other me's, are doing on their journeys on those planets. That's all for now. Goodbye, and remember to keep on dancing.